One line to describe my freshman year in high school is it hit me like a truck. Homework was excessive, and then I lost a huge part of my life when I tore my ACL. Let's put it like this: the truck came full on and never slowed down. When I tore my ACL, I lost the ability to walk and run, but the worst was losing the ability to play soccer for 8 months, all because of one choice I made on May 10th. Because of this injury, I was ripped from teams and drowned with excessive amounts of homework before finals. My journey began on Sunday, May 19th, when I was called to the adventure. That was the day my travel soccer team played FC Stars. If we won or tie that game, we would be led to nationals in Seattle. The day before I was called to the adventure, I had hurt my knee while playing in another game. The pain then continued into that Sunday. The pain made me want to refuse the call to the adventure, but I couldn't. My team did not have a backup goalkeeper, and it was the most important game of the season, so I played. Instead of watching my team from the sidelines, I played through the whole game. Even though I was hurting, my mind was set on keeping the ball out of the back of the net. In the last 10 minutes of the game, I stepped to the right to go get the ball, and that's when it all began. At that moment, I felt my knee buckle, and I heard the popping sound every athlete is afraid of. I was in a lot of pain, and I was having trouble straightening my right leg, but the pain wasn't bad enough to even think I had torn my ACL. After the game was over, my companions or teammates helped me off the field because I could not walk alone. They walked me over to the trainer where he evaluated me. He came to conclusions that I had only pulled a muscle. After close monitoring, my parents, who were doctors, also came to the same conclusion that there is really no chance I had torn anything. However, the next 2 days I was forced to miss school because the pain got worse, and I was unable to bear any weight on my right leg. After 2 days of complaining to my parents about the pain, they called the orthopedist to make an appointment. Missing 2 days of school was hard because I had to not only deal with the pain but catch up on all the work I missed in the last 2 days. Wednesday finally came around and I was taken out of school to be brought to the doctors. Wednesday pain was minimal, so I was almost sure it was just a pulled muscle. Dr. Popowitz asked me what happened, and then he did a physical evaluation by pulling my knee up and down, left and right. Once he was done, he had concluded it was most likely a sprain or a pulled muscle, but again, nothing seems to be torn. For safety purposes, he made an appointment for me to get an MRI later that day. The MRI was done in order to see on the inside. The results will show muscles, tendons, and ligaments. After the MRI, I went home and waited. Thursday, I went to school again, and I was pulled out early because the doctor had received the MRI results. My mom had brought me to his office. When I arrived, I was almost positive Dr. Popowitz would tell me everything was right, and it was just a pulled muscle. That would have been good news. Instead, I was drowned with bad news. As I walked into the office, I saw the MRI on the screen, but I was unable to read it. As for my mom, she could. She had a scared look on her face, but when I asked what was wrong, she said nothing. I began to be nervous. A couple minutes after Dr. Popowitz walked in, we all sat down. He began by saying, "I am sorry to inform you that you have completely torn your anterior cruciate ligament, also known as your ACL, and have a bucket handle meniscus tear." At that point, I was so in shock I had nothing to say. He continued explaining how, because of the meniscus tear, surgery has to be done immediately. This left me no time to get ahead in school. I had only a few days to prepare. As I walked out of the room, I started to cry because that is when I realized it's actually happening. I was not nervous for the surgery, but I was upset that the thing I love most in life was taken away from me. The surgery was scheduled for Tuesday the 19th, but I was excited to have it done so soon so I could start recovering. I was informed soccer would be taken away from me for 8 months minimum. That means 8 months without the one thing that makes me happy, taking me away from the brutal realities of life. Tuesday finally came and I was brought to Nyack Hospital. At around 2 p.m. my surgery was over and I was in the recovery room where I found out Plan A didn't work. To replace my ACL and meniscus, the doctors had to take part of my hamstring tendon, but I did not have enough tendon, so they went to Plan B where they used the cadaver or dead person's tendon. The only downside to a cadaver's tendon is there is a risk of infection and there are more restrictions during recovery. After the surgery, my friends, family, and teammates supported me. They all came to visit me and make sure I was okay. My goal is to be a stronger person once I get back on my feet. Even though I have not accomplished my essential goal yet, I have accomplished small daily goals. So far, my journey has been harder mentally than physically. Mentally, it's hard going to every soccer game, watching everyone run while you can barely walk. It's hard watching people run and jump around, but it's the hardest being able to trust my leg again. In physical therapy, everything feels weird, and I'm afraid my leg is going to give out. The same thing is going to happen. The most important lessons I have learned are to protect my body by making smart decisions when I'm hurt, not taking things for granted, because being able to walk and run around is not something everyone is able to do, and from this experience I realize that now. Lastly, I have become mentally stronger by being more independent, having to do things not everyone can face. My journey has revolved around the quote, "There is no great loss without some small gain."